Yeah, I remember it go down. So, because Toby's working with a lot of municipalities.
Well, it wouldn't hurt to
Yeah.
see.
So anyway, I didn't know.
You ready to go?
Done
Yep.
anything with that.
Okay. Call the meeting to order. Sarah, would you please call the roll?
Yep, for the record, the State Highway Commission is assembled at the Niobrara Lodge, 803 Highway 20 in Nebraska. The date is Friday, June 25th, 2021, and the time is 8:30 a.m. Commissioner Koppel,
Present.
Commissioner Grinsky,
Present.
Commissioner Leafgreen,
Here.
Commissioner Fagerland,
Here.
Commissioner Hawks,
Here.
Commissioner Wolford,
Here.
Commissioner Gertis,
Present.
and Commissioner Kindig. Commissioner Kindig,
Here. Can you hear me?
just for the record.
Yes.
And Commissioner Kindig and Commissioner Koppel are joining us virtually this morning.
Approval of the minutes, May 21.
So move.
Second.
Okay, moving second. Third, you call roll.
Commissioner Koppel,
Yes.
Commissioner Grinsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Leafgreen,
Yes.
Commissioner Fagerland,
Yes.
Commissioner Hawks,
Yes.
Commissioner Wolford,
Yes.
Commissioner Gertis,
Yes.
and Commissioner Kindig.
Yes.
Okay, approved.
Yes.
Introductions and announcements. I understand we have with us from Boyd County, Ron Byrne, and Boyd and Polk Counties, Gary Hammett.
Yes.
Huh? Sorry. We'll, having said that, we'll move on with the rest of our agenda. I don't have any other announcements to make. So our first item is the director's remarks with John Selmer. And see, John, you've aged a lot in the last.
I
few
tell you,
months. Mo Jamsey is sitting
Good
in. for
morning,
John.
as you can see, I'm not John, and John is in Minnesota, I believe. He's taking a little time off after being here for 3 months, kind of trying to learn the department and everything. I think he got some well-deserved getaway long weekend. So I'm sitting in for him and hope to share a few items with you about what we're up to and answer any questions you might have. Got Mark Kovar next to me, District 8 engineer. He'll introduce his staff and then he's going to go over his program. And normally at this time, I would be introducing the team from Lincoln. You all already know Sarah and Jesse, but today we have I have a privilege of introducing to you our brand new communication director, Shannon Ankeny, is with us. You'll get to know her pretty well in the years to come. She comes from to us from private sector. She Nelnet and then many other places that she's been. If you get a chance to know her, you guys are going to work together a lot. Welcome to the DOT. And normally when we go to the Highway Commission meeting, we got a few more people. District 8, we have no problems. So there are nobody here to complain about anything. So this is really awesome. As you know, we are in the middle of construction season right now. If you drove over here from any direction, you probably saw a whole lot of orange cones and everything after the floods of 2019 and pandemic of 2022, 2020. Oh God, don't say 22.
Please.
I am keeping my fingers crossed that 2021 will be a so-called normal year. We have selected July 1 for our employees in Lincoln to start coming to work like normal. Of course, some people will still be probably working a little remotely when opportunity comes, but pretty much starting July 1, we're going to be back to business as usual. There are just a couple of items. I don't want to take too much time. First of all, in the next couple of weeks, look for the program book to come out. Amy Stars Group and this year, they've been working for a while now to get our 1 and 5 year program out. This year, you will find a kind of interesting feature, which is going to have a GIS interactive map that you can go search projects better and get familiar with what's coming up. So I'm kind of excited about there's going to be around these expressways. And we're committed to finishing. Again, it's just very preliminary plan. As you all know, it's going to be depending on funding, depending on the whole things. Hopefully, we don't have any more floods, but we have a plan and we've shown it. I don't believe like when expected. That disclaimers, if everything goes well, we have a plan. We'll give that to Sarah and she can share that with you maybe next week. You probably have heard by now, we have an agreement between the president and what we call a G20, 20 senators in Washington, D.C. that came up with the infrastructure bill tentative framework to the tune of $1.2 trillion. About 579 billion of it is going to be what they call it above the base. And out of that, 312 billion is going to be so-called transportation. The rest of it will be on things like broadband and water infrastructure, things that not traditional, what I call transportation infrastructure. We really don't know what the impact of that is going to be on us yet. It's got a long ways to go to get approved, to get to the Senate and the House and get passed. But our organization, AASHTO, in Washington, D.C., that's basically lobbying for all the DOTs, they're on top of it. They give us almost daily update of everything. There's a couple of things in the bills that are coming up that are a little problematic for us if it passes. And money-wise, funding-wise, we think no matter what they pass is going to be above and beyond what we have. So in that end, I think we're good. We like long-term, steady plans, not these month by month type of things. And in that front is also good because the $1.2 trillion has got a 5 and an 8 year piece to it. About 900 billion of it is going to be a 5-year plan, and the rest of it maybe an 8-year plan. But the thing, there are a couple of laws that are being passed that could put more strings attached to every dollar that comes in. So really, until everything is passed and we can digest what it all means to us, we really don't know whether to celebrate or start gearing up to get through a bunch of red tape. And every time there's a big money coming, there's a bunch of red tape. Sometimes we have to jump through. We'll keep you updated as things go in the next few months. I think the goal is by August or so to have something done So we're kind of excited with that. And I hate to do this, but I'm gonna end with the bad news, and that's the fatality on our highways. As of last night, June, it's kind of interesting, is today is June 25th, and we've had 25 fatalities on our highways across the state. And we've had a few of those that have been multi-fatality accidents and crashes. And if you look at the circumstances, many of them avoidable. We are working really hard on our Buckle Up, Phone Down campaign. I think it's going really well. We're still bringing more schools into it. Sarah and the team, they're working really hard to get the message out. But at the end of the day, the numbers don't look good. It was 2016 where we had by this time this kind of a number. From then on, every year the numbers are getting better, but then now we're back to 25. So I just can't emphasize how important it is to all of us to drive the car and not be distracted. And so we're doing everything we can. I hope the new bill is going to have a whole bunch of safety dollars added to it. The federal rules, when they came out a few years ago, didn't allow us to spend any money on educational part of the safety. You couldn't use the federal funds for that as freely. The new bill promises that we can use federal funds for each educational messaging, things like that, take it to schools, take it to communities to spread the word. So I think that's what our group, both in communication and highway safety, are going to be concentrating on doing in the next few, as soon as the bill passes. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions from?
I would, do we have any comparable stats on this death situation comparing to other states and as a whole? Are other states experiencing the same rise in fatalities?
We have, and I don't have that stuff with me, but our traffic division keeps track of all of that. We were actually really happy to that the fact that in 2020, when the COVID was going, we were experiencing really good numbers as far as fatalities were going down, while the rest of the country were going up. The speeds were picking up, the highways were empty, people were going crazy. So, but in the state of Nebraska, we were doing okay. But we can provide that to you. I mean, what we always keep track of, but every state is different. Their numbers, their number of vehicle mile travel on their highways, number of miles. So really, it's hard to compare state to state.
I know we had 3 of the fatalities in Scottsbluff County, and all of them, neither one of them had seatbelts on. And I think all 3 of them were ejected, and so.
If you look at the number of people that die on these crashes, it's amazing. We have well over almost 90% of people do wear their seatbelts, but yet almost 70% of people who die on the highways are not wearing their seatbelts. That just tells you what an important thing it is for people to wear their seatbelt.
I had a question back on the expressways.
Yeah.
That you're, 15 years ago, before we passed the extra money to fund capital improvements, we had discussions on the commission about segments of the original 600 miles being well under 10,000 cars per day. And at that time, we were basically saying we're just not going to do those low traffic segments. That is now out the window. We're not looking at any traffic counts. It's just, this was the plan, so we're going to finish it.
Well, once I share the plan that we have with you, you will see that we have spread it out for example, Highway 275, the traffic is almost there. 81 is getting really close. And the ones that are gonna be in the future years, like 2030, 2034, Highway 75 coming out of Nebraska City and all that. It'll take a while for the traffic to get there. Although expressway, the 600 miles that were selected, they weren't traffic-based, they were just connecting the 15,000 towns. But I think we've done a nice job of distributing it, the construction of them, so that when they're complete, and then they're gonna be close based on our estimations.
Question. Is the department participating in Senator Waltz's study on the use of bonds for transportation projects in the future?
Well, I testified back when I was the acting director against the bonding bill. Although it hasn't gone away, it's going to be back again next year. We at the department really think that's not a good solution for a number of reasons. First of all, it basically uses the same revenue that we have coming to pay it back. And that's really not going to build you anything new, or for that matter, anything faster. The idea was to build things faster, quicker. You could borrow money. These projects that are in the works, they're all very complicated projects. They take a long time to develop, 5, 6 years to get them from start to the end. So we concluded that borrowing now isn't going to speed those projects up. Senator Walz agreed to kind of park that bill for a while, and we're going to show some progress on all of these segments, and we'll see where we go from there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question. I think it might have been about 2 years ago, possibly 3 years ago, the legislature passed a bill that allowed the speed to be increased in the state of Nebraska, and especially in the not off-roads, but the highways, not in. And I was curious if you have any statistics that some of the increase in accidents might be related to speed, and in your opinion, has that increased accidents, the increase in speed?
That's a good question. We actually, our traffic division is keep monitoring that. I think we need a few more seasons to really compare to what it was, what it is. You can have any spike in any year for whatever reason. We've had pandemic, we've had floods, so the amount of traffic is not really stabilized, if you will. We will have that information probably in the next couple of years. We're going to do some of that comparison. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other question? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the welcome with Commissioner Fagerlund.
Thank you. I'm going to be brief. I'd like to spend a special thank you for attending for those of you from White Holt, and I didn't catch.
Recently, the district construction.
Okay. Special welcome to you, and then also to you, Shannon, your first meeting. With that, I'm just going to turn it back to the chair.
Easy enough. Okay. Mark, you got a very detailed, long program for us, right?
Try to make it.
I guess before I start, I would like to welcome Jason here. He's our district construction engineer. Any project-specific questions on ongoing projects right now, you can direct those to him. He can probably answer them better than I can. But otherwise, yeah, I guess anytime you've got questions, feel free to stop me, and we will answer those best we can, or we'll get them at the end. Thank you, and welcome to Valentine. And District 8, this is a draft copy of our new program book map that's coming out. As you can see, it's colored. Got quite a bit of red and blue on it for the upcoming projects that are in 2022 through 2027. So we do have quite a bit of road work that's going on. I'll go through a few of the projects that are ongoing now.
Hey, Mark,
Well as-
Mark, go back to that. I have a question.
Oh, no.
Well,
You know, okay, there.
why the jog? Is that going to a commissioner's house or something?
I was told years ago by Les O'Donnell, who was the District 6 engineer, it's because he got to the director's office second when they were dividing up the district lines. So he was stuck with that piece of road. It used to be a 10-foot wide asphalt roadway. But the real reason is there's a maintenance shop in Mullen, which is right at the south end of that little spike. And so it just made sense for District 6 and the guys out of Mullen, that southern part of Highway 97 that goes up to the Brown Road.
Okay,
And then our folks out of Valentine take care of the northern.
okay. There's no, that's right.
Okay, some things to talk about this morning. First, the state of the district. We'll talk about our pavement conditions. Then I'll go over some of our highway improvement stuff that we have going on now. And then what's coming up in 2022. And then I'll just touch lightly on things that are in 2023 through 2027. And we'll take any public questions or public input. Pavement conditions in the district, our average NSI, which is the Nebraska Serviceability Index, it's almost at 87. Our target for the state is 85. So we're doing good there. The percent of lane miles in the district that are in good condition, almost 90%. I would say we're probably, if not the best, one of the best districts in the state. And the percent of vehicle miles traveled that are on good roads is almost 93%. So we've got a lot of good roads, and where the people are driving, those roads are in really good condition. And over the last 5 years, our total costs, averaging amount per lane mile, is just over $12,000 per year, which is a fairly low number compared to some of the other districts. And so so I guess I'm proud of that, and we're always looking to improve our conditions while reducing our cost per mile. As the roads get better, the maintenance on them, you don't have to do as much, and so that allows us to stretch our costs further. Highway improvement projects are coming up in 2021 and 2022. See if I can get Google Map to work. Let's see, we've got lots of projects coming up. I'll try to kind of just page through them one at a time. We'll work starting the western end of the district and work our way east with just a few of the highlights. Starting in the west, this project is ongoing right now. It's Snake River north and south. It's on Highway 61. It's expected to be completed this fall. A companion project to that is Snake River to the Niobrara River, also on Highway 61. It's an asphalt resurfacing project. It's currently under construction, being constructed by Werner Construction. Also, the completion on that is expected to be fall 2020. One of our, I guess, most look forward to projects, if that's the right way to put it, is in Valentine, the Main Street project. This has been in development for quite some time. It's a little over a half mile of urban reconstruction. We're reconstructing all of Main Street, basically from storefront to storefront. This fall, it was just recently last week, and the prices came in good, so we expect to be able to award that contract very soon. If things work out the way we have it planned, the contractor will start work on the detour work this fall, then begin the actual reconstruction of Main Street in the spring of 2022. It will be a 2-year project, so we're expecting it to be completed in the fall. Next project that we've got going on this year, that's an 8-mile resurfacing project on Highway 7, just north of Brewster. It's currently under construction. We're in construction as the contractor on that. And then we expect it to be completed this fall as well. Another project that is going or will be going is Rose North. It's a microsurfacing project, which is a very thin surface treatment, kind of a preventive maintenance type of project that we do. Try to do this type of work on asphalt pavements that are about 10 years old. It gives us, extends the life on pavement at least 5 years or so. And we found that it's been a very cost-effective way to do some preventive maintenance. Another project that's ongoing right now is the US 20 South and O'Neill project. It's on Highway 281. Yeah, it's urban reconstruction, essentially from storefront to storefront, just south of the Shamrock in O'Neill. A company called BX Civil has got the contract on that, and they expect to be completed with all the major work this fall. There might be some minor work that carries over into next spring. As the summer goes along, we'll have to see how long they can progress. Lastly, on this, I did want to touch on preventive maintenance work that our maintenance forces do. It's about 160 miles. I'll get this out of the way. These are armor coats and chip seals and machine patching work that our maintenance folks do. It's about 160 miles worth that we'll do at various spots around the district. I guess, like I said, this is all done by in-house folks. It costs about $3 or $3.5 million to do this work this year. So, as you can see, we're doing a lot of work during the summer with our own maintenance forces too, in addition to the contract. Now we'll jump into some of our 2022 road work that's coming up. Again, working from west to east. We have a 10-mile segment on Highway 20 called Merriman to Eli. That's an asphalt resurfacing project. Should begin construction in the spring of 2022. It gets left this fall. And east of there on Highway 12, we have Sparks East. It's a short 4-mile resurfacing segment. Again, gets left this fall and expect to begin construction in the spring of 2022. Another major project that the city of Ainsworth has been anticipating for quite a while is the Ainsworth project on Highway 20. It's 1.5 miles of urban concrete reconstruction. Not going storefront to storefront because the storefronts aren't there, but basically sidewalk on each side. It'll get let this fall. It was let earlier this year in March, and for the first time that I've been a district engineer, we had 0 bids coming on the project. This one, for whatever reason, we didn't get any bids on it, so it's being let in this fall. Construction in the spring of 2022, assuming we get some good bids. Next smaller project that we've got is Willow Creek Box Culvert. It's just the outlet end of a box culvert. That creek has seen quite a bit of erosion over the years. The flooding in 2019 kind of made that worse. We're going to be repairing the end of this box culvert with a stream channel correction. Next project is the Rock Chippewa County line working south, or north, excuse me. It's about a 4.5 mile asphalt resurfacing project on Highway 7 between Bassett and Springfield. And then south of Bassett, we have the Bassett South project. It's a 10-mile resurfacing project on US 183. And let this fall and begin construction in spring. And then getting closer to the Boyd-Polk County line area, we have on Highway 281, it's a 5.5 mile resurfacing project. This project was actually planned well before the flooding events took effect or happened. The north part of this stretch really got, I guess, took a beating under construction traffic and stuff. So this project would be welcome to that area to be pavement back up in good condition. Lastly, for I'll call it our regular resurfacing type projects, the Stafford to Holt County line. It's an 8.1 mile project on US 20. It's asphalt resurfacing, and we are doing some bridge repair on that project as well. I'm going to let it this fall and spring or summer 2022. In addition to those, I did want to highlight a couple of microsurfacing projects that we're doing. Kind of bundled these highway segments together under one type of project in the microsurfacing and inlet overlay type of strategy to extend pavement. So we have this one we call the Ainsworth area to, I guess, do some preventive maintenance, microsurfacing on those bridges. And then we also have this stretch in Valentine, around the Valentine area. It's about 50 miles, 58 miles, I believe. Microsurfacing will be constructed in 2022 as well. And with that is all the projects that we've got coming up in the next, this year and next year. Questions at this time? Mark, just
why do you think there weren't any bidders on that one particular project that you showed there? And I guess to follow up with that, then, are you seeing more than one bidder on most of your projects in this area? Because I agree, it's pretty unusual not to have any bids.
Yeah, I'll answer the second part first. Yes, we normally see more than one bidder. 3, 4 is probably average for our area. Most of our area is asphalt overlay work. So the concrete work is a little bit unusual for our area. We don't really have any big concrete contractors in the area. That might be one reason that the main reason, I think, is because when the project was let, it was fairly late in the letting cycle for this year's construction work. It was let in March, and a lot of project in March that's that size and expect to be able to start work in April or May of this year, just a couple months later. It's a pretty tall step for a contractor to climb, especially if they've already got other work lined up for this year that they already have on the contract. So the stars would have had to line just right, that we would have had a couple of contractors that didn't have enough work to do, needed that to fill out their schedule.
The other question I had, you were talking about the numbers coming in good on the Valentine project, and you and I talked about that a little bit before, but I think it was in one of our past couple of meetings anyway, somebody reported on the fact that construction costs were going up like 20%. Have we seen that come down or starting to flatten out?
Let me address that. I think that's a really good question. We do, as you know, during the flooding, we experienced a spike in the prices simply for supply and demand. We have too many projects with few contractors. And then after that, it didn't come back down to where we're used to. I thought we did a study with a consultant, looked at all of our bids and everything, even after the normal ER projects were done. We generally experience about 15 to 20% increase in the cost. And we have been going systematically updating our estimates, the ones that we have now accordingly. Now, another thing is hitting us now after the pandemic is the material shortage. So the lumber and the cement and the steel and everything else right now, most contractors are having a difficult time getting quotes because the steel manufacturers can't guarantee delivery. And so in our very last letting, we saw some of that spike even though Valentine came okay, it still was over the estimate, and a few other projects were over. We think looking at the long-term prices, steel price of lumber, it's coming down. I think this is a temporary spike. But I think even after all of this thing is settled, I would say from 2018 to today, we're just going to get that 20% jump on the prices. Just construction prices indexes have gone up. So it is here with us.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The Valentine project, the Main Street project, I'm sure that's really welcome. You mentioned the detour. Was that, what kind of negative impact do you anticipate on the storefronts that are there? And what's the state's plans to mitigate that?
Oh, well, we have Main Street closed, you mean?
Yeah.
Actually, we've been, I guess, working with the stores and, letting them know that they can, put up some sign or direction to have people directed to come in the back door. We also have temporary sidewalk, which will be constructed if people need to come in front of the facilities as well, if that's the only way to get in. Interesting note about that, several years ago, we made a video called "We're in This Together," and it's to help businesses thrive during construction. And we're actually using this Valentine project as a model to redo that video, because that video is about 20 years old now. I think it was done in Ogallala, and most of the people who are in the video are retired now or gone. And the cars look old and everything. It's just dated. It does have good information, but we're using that to modernize it and working with the business owners here, to do some simple things. Have a construction sale or a hard hat day and get 10% off of things. We're a hard hat, just simple things like that keeps their business, on the map, keeps people aware of it, and lets them know that it's going to be inconvenient navigating through a construction site like that, but the inconvenience will be well worth it.
And they've been cooperative and
Yep.
agreeable to that plan. Great.
How much does the local entity, how much does the city of Valentine share in the cost of the project? That's a huge project for Valentine, over $12 million. What is their share on that?
Their share is, and don't quote me because it's not exact, it's about 1.7 or 1.8 million. Their share is mainly things that they would like to do, improve their water line, improve their sanitary sewer, things that are specific to the city of Valentine. Most of the things like the storm sewer, reconstruction and things like that, those are the project cost or a state cost, because as we rebuild the pavement, that affects the storm sewer, and so we have to fix that as part of our project, because what we need to do fix that. But the water line, there's some, the city of Valentine is doing some decorative lighting down Main Street too, and so those are city costs.
So are the utility upgrades part of the number that you're showing? In other words, will that be done by the city by separate contract?
No, it's actually done, it's a separate contract, because the city did apply first for a a grant or a loan which has a little bit different specifications. So we actually let two projects, one for our work, one for the city's work, but they're tied together and will be done concurrently. But the city share, will be done basically by the same contractor that we hired. Periodically bill the city as that work gets done.
So 83, when you turn west and go down through the valley is still, that's not part of this project, but that pavement through the rest of Valentine is still pretty tough. Is that on the?
It is. That is very.
Is that on the
It's
radar?
quickly becoming some of the worst pavement we have. in the
I bet it is.
That project is also in design, and actually final design is essentially done on it. And it is going to start after the Main Street project. So it is a couple years away yet that we'll have to band-aid it together. I originally programmed the whole stretch to be done at once, but as the cost of doing, the cost and the impact to try and do that much work in a town all in 1 year, all in one project was just overwhelming. So it made sense to divide the projects up, but I've done a lot of them. Get the Main Street one done first, which will be the biggest headache for the local businesses in the community. It's that headache's out of the way. Fourth Street project. You have a question?
Thank you, Mark.
Welcome. And then just quickly, I won't go over these one at a time, but just to show you, we do have quite a list of projects that are coming up in 2023 to 2027. A couple pages worth, as a matter of fact. These will all be in a program book that will be published soon. And with that, I would be happy to take any other questions. Oh, and just for the district between 2022 and 2027, that 6-year stretch. We do have 68 projects programmed, a little over 685 miles of roadway to be worked on, around $204 million worth. So we have quite a bit of work coming up here in the district in the next 6 years. So looking forward. So with that, any questions?
The only other thing I was curious about, and it's only because I haven't had an opportunity to drive it yet, but the project you had between Mullen and Valentine where it was underwater, how did that come out?
Well,
You were gonna actually raise the road, I think, through there, and I had a couple of calls about some drainage
yeah,
facilities through there.
There's a couple of different areas. Right south of Merritt Reservoir, there was, I guess, one area where we had quite a bit of water over the road, over 3 feet. I had pictures of a pickup truck being stuck out there last time. And so that area, we essentially pumped the water off of that. Mother Nature cooperated, it quit raining, and that area has dried up. So we haven't done anything with that stretch yet, but we will be raising the road there. There's another area that's further south, the Brownlee Road turnoff, we call it the Alkali Pond area. About where the peak of that little spike in the district line is. We installed a culvert there and to help get the water off the highway, and it did. Let more water go downstream. But that culvert is one that we have some wear blocks that we can kind of gauge or control how fast we let the water go, because we don't want to flood out the downstream.
And that was a concern.
And that one is one we've got plans to raise the road on.
I was just curious, like I say, I hadn't been down that way for a while.
If you go further south on 97 into District 6, they have a couple areas too. And, with some Jersey barriers alongside the road to kind of dam the water.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the public input part of the agenda. Yes, as we do this, this is a public meeting. If you have comments, what you do, would you come to the microphone and state and spell your last name for the record?
I'll leave it there shortly. So you can come to the bicycle.
By the way, Mr. Chairman, I forgot to introduce Khalil Jabber, who is the force behind delivering all these projects. And I got so excited about introducing Shannon, I totally forgot about my buddy
That's
Khalil.
perfect. For the record, I wasn't here, so that's good.
Oh, comments, please.
My name is Gary Conant, C-O-N-N-O-T. I'm the Holt and Boyd County Highway Superintendent. Got a couple of questions or concerns to pass along. First of all, the Highway 281 Niobrara River Bridge. Of course, it failed a couple of years ago, isolated Boyd County to a certain degree. The sediment buildup seems to be becoming a bigger issue. Last winter, during a couple of weeks of cold weather, the ice was built up against the bridge, causing a lot of local concern. So I just wondered what behavior of the Niobrara River or the anticipated outcome of this concern could be, or what the hope is for that project.
Well, I guess the hope or our expectation is that river will continue to erode and the river channel will eventually go down. But right now, during construction, we've actually seen a lot of sediment that was upstream from the dam that was there. Over years and years, it has built up. And now with the dam not there, that sediment is moving its way downstream. Some of it has found its way to, saw its way to deposit itself right underneath the bridge area that we were working on. And actually raised the stream bed in that area. Jason, was it 4 feet? About 4 feet in between the time the roadway washed out and when we completed construction of the bridge. But we do expect that sand to continue to move its way downstream, and eventually that channel will cut deeper, and the ice should not be a problem. Something we are monitoring every year until that happens.
Thank you. In that same area, the pavement condition of the Act 41, and I see it's one of your projects for next year. I think the locals have heard next year a couple of different times, and I think it's been delayed because of the 2019 flooding. But that pavement resurfacing is scheduled for 22.
Yes, that's correct.
Another sediment question, and this put my Holt County hat on, but west of Stewart in the Elkhorn River, on one of our county bridges, we've seen 4 or 5 feet of sediment appear in the last year or two. I didn't know if you're seeing the same effects on Highway 20's Elkhorn River Bridge, or sediment is becoming an issue more all the time.
No, I can't see that we have seen a buildup of sediment on any of our Elkhorn River bridges. Nothing that I would say is unusual. It's something I'll definitely take a look at, check with our maintenance superintendents and see if they've noticed anything.
Yeah, I've received some calls from the area ranchers just that, hey, there's not much channel left, and is concerned about high water events and sediment in pastures and hay meadow. And then the other question, you kind of touched on it, is the Ian O'Neill, the 4th Street project. course, you know, the businesses have seen effects from the 2019 event, the 2020, you know, just the business, the economic impacts. And if this project, they've heard that it may be a 2-year project, and that hopefully isn't the case, but, you know, just not a lot of activity there. Just wondering if there's been delays or how that project is going.
Yeah, the project is, I guess, going along fairly well. We did have some additional water line and sanitary sewer work the city has added. And so that wasn't expected at first, but as we got into removing the pavement, busted a water line and found out that it wasn't repairable because of the age. And the city decided to move forward with replacing additional water line and sanitary sewer that they weren't planning on before. And that's absolutely the right thing to do. We need to do it while the pavement's out. But that did add some time to the project, or some work the pavement contractor wasn't anticipating. And then most recently, they've been working on jacking a pipe underneath the railroad right of way, about a 20-inch pipe, 120 feet long. So that takes some time too. That maybe it looks like there's not a lot of progress, but it's not a fast-moving operation. And as you can imagine, a steel pipe that long, you've got to get it set and pointed the right direction, because there's no way to move it or bend it once it's going, as you know. So it's got to be put in right the first time, because you can't do it a second time and you can't adjust it once it's there. Our hope is still everything goes well and we can finish all the major work this fall. But of course, it's the middle of June and there's a lot of construction season left to catch up, or weather could become an issue and it could slow things down for us too. To get the major work done this fall.
Well, thank you. That's all I have. I appreciate the opportunity to be at the meeting, and being on the local level is a challenge to balance budgets and demands of traffic and different developments. It seems like there's way more projects than the budget will ever support. But it's a challenge. I enjoy working with the DOT, the local project section, and building project and getting additional funding to this area. So I appreciate and thank you for being here.
Gary, did you have any projects in this last round of the Highway Bridge Match program?
No, we didn't make any submittals. I've got a couple of more projects eligible. I think I'll have, Holt will have one this fall submittal in the bridge match. And Boyd has 2 or 3 eligible sites. They're somewhat off the beaten path, not a real priority, but need to take advantage of the funding.
You have had some projects in,
Yes.
Yep. I guess previous rounds.
Yes, yeah, we did.
That's what I thought so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. I guess it's a follow-up to one of your questions. I don't know if it's for you or probably for Mark, but help me understand, 2 of your questions had to do with sediment under bridges. Can I understand the consequence of that? I'm a banker here, so not an engineer.
I guess from our point of view, like what like Gary was saying, concern about ice, when there's a lot of room, freeboard between the top of the water and the bottom of the bridge, you can build up lots of ice. But as that flow line or river channel, the bed comes up, well, that just gets chunks of ice a lot closer to the bridge. And I don't know if you've seen any of the pictures from March, but several of the chunks of ice were 3 feet thick and as big as a pickup. And so when you get chunks of ice like that moving across the top of water, that carries a lot of force. And so you don't want to have those bumping into the bottom of the bridge if at all possible. So from the roadway standpoint, that's where that sediment is a problem, because it takes care of that, or eliminates that room that we have for ice to pass under the bridge.
That's helpful. And so if that becomes a real concern, does the DOT address that themselves, or do you work with like the Natural Resource District or something like that to mitigate those potential impacts?
Yeah, we would have to work with some of the local, or I guess, resource agencies, probably the Corps of Engineers as well.
Okay.
And see what we can do.
We, during the winter, when that happened, we brought in our consultants who designed the bridge. And we have the hydraulic model of the bridge, and this wasn't something that they didn't anticipate. Remember, as the ice builds up and the bottom comes up, the velocity of the river will increase because we have a smaller area for the water to go. As the velocity increases, it'll erode the bottom, therefore the bottom will go back down. So there's a lot of equilibrium happens that the designers, the engineers count on that for during the storms and what have you. So when we ran what happened there into our model, it was pretty well predicted that was going to happen. And so we didn't feel there was any issue.
Thank you.
Which is a fortunate part of a sandhill stream. You know, the stream bed is sand, so it's fairly mobile. Well, it can deposit in places you don't want fairly easily, but as Mo said, if the ice gets on top, it can also erode down to where if you have a rock bottom stream or something that's more stable than sand that won't erode, then you could have other problems. Yeah, that sand is pretty mobile under the force of water. And so that'll help us channel that out.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments?
I have none online.
We have no comments online?
Nope.
Okay. Going once?
Just real quick, I was going to introduce Daryl Lewis, our project manager here in Valentine. And Valentine project, who's already starting to work with the businesses in the chambers. Hopefully, key player in that project. We're ready to build.
Okay. Yes.
Ron Byrne, Floyd County Supervisor. Yeah, I guess probably my main concern is the high condition of Highway 11 from Butte north to the South Dakota border. Recently, they lowered the speed limit 10 miles an hour and put up rough road signs. But that also creates a hazard. We have a lot of truck grain flow from South Dakota, comes down that highway, goes on to O'Neill to Cargill or south. Yeah. And lowering the speed limit, you cause the trucks to want to pass cars that are driving the speed limit. So it kind of creates more of a hazard on a rough road than what we have already. So I'm just concerned about getting that repaired or when it will be repaired. Good condition again.
Yeah, and that project is scheduled for 2023, so it's still a couple years away
Yeah.
yet.
And I'm just concerned that it's gonna get in really bad shape by 2023.
Right.
It's pretty tough now.
Yeah, and I guess our maintenance forces, they're aware of it and
Yeah,
they're doing what they can to.
Your guys have been patching for several years and they do a good job of pouring it out and patching the bad spots, but it just blows out somewhere else. The road bed is obviously not good enough there, you know.
Yeah. So, well, maybe if additional funding would accelerate it or not, with the new highway bill, we'll have our fingers crossed
We just.
for things like that are the roads that are in poor condition, that they can be moved up, and it's definitely.
Yeah, I think it's
what we'll look at is
6 miles maybe there. It isn't a very long stretch of road, but it's in pretty poor condition. Wait 2 more years to get something done.
Yeah, and with the hot weather we've had, that just accelerates
the deterioration of maybe.
Yeah, we get a lot of grain hauled down there, you know, late in summer and the hot months. And trucks just. That's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We will move on to remarks from the chair. The only thing I have, and I think the commissioners here have heard it, but the commissioners online have not. Sarah, would you give an update on the process for turning in receipts now for the department? It's changed.
You guys seem a little too excited about this. So the department has moved away, so we are now on a per diem setup, so you don't need to keep your receipts anymore. You'll get a per diem set amount for when you're out traveling. Jesse's gonna send you the information on that, probably next week, so you guys can read through it. But the good news is you don't have to keep your receipts to send into me anymore.
Any other comments from the commission? Okay, public meetings calendar.
We do have a lot of public meetings getting started. I don't have any scheduled right now. We're getting caught up from COVID, so we're getting ready to go out. So I'll probably have quite a few for you guys to brief on in August. But right now, the next scheduled meeting we have is the Highway Commission meeting in August. It'll be on August 7th at 8:30 a.m. in North Platte. So those details.
Very good. Nothing further. We are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank
Never
you.
see me on the. I can't go back.